Well, good evening, everybody. It's Mary with Stamps-N-Lingers, and it is Sunday night, and I'm back. Yay! It seems like it's been a minute since I've seen some of y'all, so hopefully we'll get some folks on and we can take a look at a very fun little technique. Hi, Amy. How are you? Glad to see you. I'm just going to refresh my screen over here, off camera, as it were, so that we can be sure that we are transmitting and that my internet hasn't failed me now. Yeah, there we go. Oh, and looks like we've got a few folks. Hi, Karen and Pam and Barbara. Glad to see you. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being patient while I was gone for a couple of weeks. I appreciate that. The internet up there in Colorado would simply never have cut the mustard, I can tell you that much. Hey, Fran. Hi, Patty Joe. Thank you for joining. Hey, Jean. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I don't know how boring it's been, but I am glad to be back. Hey, Nancy. Hi, Sue. Glad to see that you can join us live this week. Hi, Karen. Hope things are going okay at home. I know not so much, maybe. Hi, Susan. Hi, Ginger. Mary, Deborah, Donna. Yay, I'm so glad to see everybody. It's nice to not have y'all come back on. So, I want to show you a fun technique. I came across this technique the other day on Pinterest, the source of all good ideas and inspiration. And it was a technique that Linda Heller showed. And Linda Heller is a Platinum Elite demonstrator, very, very talented lady. And so I felt obligated to borrow her technique. And it is a way to color without coloring. Now, we are going to be making this card. This is the one I gave you the sneak peek of. Hi, Beverly. Glad to see you. Hi, Dee. Hi, Diane. Thank you for joining. Hi, Aaliyah. It uses the very nice Pleasant Pheasants set. Say that 5 times fast. I promise you'll get to about 2.5 and screw it up. And it's a great little Thanksgiving fall stamp set. Very nice sentiments and some very beautiful images. I like to color, but I don't love to color. So this image right here kind of made me kind of think, oh my goodness, I will never get that colored well. I won't make it look like any sort of pheasants at all. And so I've been kind of hesitant. So when I saw Linda's technique, I snapped right on it. And I think you're going to really like it. It's fun and it's cool. There's only one thing that you need to know, and this is very important. Whatever cardstock you choose to use, if for some unknown reason, some unfathomable reason that I can't even come up with right now, you would use non-Stampin' Up cardstock. I'm not encouraging that by any stretch. But if you were, please be sure that it is colored all the way through. Or this technique could get kind of ugly. I haven't tried it because I don't even own non-Stampin' Up cardstock anymore. But that is the recommendation that Linda gave, and I see no reason to think that that is a problem. So it's the Pleasant Pheasants, and we've got some Festive Farmhouse DSP and a little bit of wood textures and a few other little goodies. So let us go ahead and commensurate, shall we? Okay, we've got some cardstock, and all of these cuts will be on the website tomorrow. The frame is made with 1 layering squares die and 1 stitched shapes framelits die. And what you get then is a nice little piece that I would recommend. I'm certainly going to keep this and use it for something else. You get a nice little stitch shaped square out of it. But the dimensions will be here tomorrow to cut your square, so I've already done that. Then you've got 1 pattern of the Festive Farmhouse DSP and some cherry cardler cobble-stock. What was I thinking? Oh my goodness. Yeah. So anyway, some cherry cobbler cardstock for the art piece. A little bit of very vanilla for the inside. Another pattern of Festive Farmhouse, one of my very favorites. I love this paper, y'all. I can't even tell you how much I love this paper. And some Mossy Meadow cardstock. 1 very vanilla card base. And of course, we'll have an envelope with some more of the Festive Farmhouse DSP. So let us get started. We're going to begin with this technique, and I think you're going to like it a lot. So I'm going to use my Stamparata Sopotamus here. Let me put this out the way for a second. Now, you don't have to use your Stamparatus for this, but I kind of like it, and I'm going to show you how I get this lined up. Okay, because It is the exact size that I want for my card, so I have not left myself a whole lot of squiggle wiggle room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up using the acetate from my Stamp-A-Majig. Okay, so I'm just going to get kind of an idea where square is and pick my stamp up with this acrylic. And then let's take, it really does not matter at this point what color you use, but you want a color that you can see, obviously. So I'm just using some Mossy Meadow because I've got it, I need to have it handy for later. And I'm going to stamp it on my acrylic piece, and I'm going to eyeball it using my highly calibrated Mark 1 eyeball, 1 each, Air Force regulation. Okay, and that looks straight enough to me. So I'm going to call it good. I'm going to wipe off my stamp, leave it where it is. Don't pick it up because it's already set. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe him off, put Mr. Stamp-A-Majig away, and you'll notice that I've got my cardstock up in the corner, so that is my alignment. If I was going to do it out here somewhere, I'd need to be sure that I had marked my corners and put my magnet on. I don't really need to do that because all I got to do is push it right up there into the corner. So now I'm going to ink, 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 ink. Hi, Sonia. Nice of you to join. I appreciate it. Yes, Karen, that is correct. Order pleasant pheasants quickly. That is correct. We're going to just go ahead and ink that up with Versamark and stamp it down. And the Versamark on the darker cardstock, you can kind of see where your image is. I'm going to do it again just to be sure, because you know, once you pour that embossing powder on, kind of is what it is. Okay, make sure my cardstock's back up in the corner. Give it another little press and pick it up. And then I'm going to wipe my stamp off. I don't know about you guys, but I've discovered that the Versamark ink can leave your stamp kind of sticky icky. So I do try, I don't always succeed, but I do try to wipe it off as quickly as I can. Okay, so now we're going to put him aside, and I'm going to sprinkle him, this him with clear Stampin' Emboss powder, okay? Clear Stampin' Emboss powder. We're gonna get him all covered up here, and then tap, tap, tap. Give him a little blow, make sure I don't have extraneous powder anywhere. And then I'm covering my powder tub back up because I can assure you that I have in fact blown powder all over my Versamark pad, and that is not pretty, I'm just telling you. All right, now we are going to heat emboss this. And watch the magic happen, folks. Well, this is only part one of the magic. And you don't have to do this, just hold it steady. Ooh, there it goes. I love it. Love it, love it. Okay. Just make sure you watch all of it change over and get shiny. It's a big image, which is why it spooks me to try to color it. I would mess this up so bad. And then my friend Julie would be like, Mary, there's no pheasant on the planet that color. And I'd say, yes, I know. I know. Okay, everything is shiny. So we're gonna let that cool. Yeah, you are correct, Deborah. The sentiment in this one is, it's just beautiful. And I love the inside. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Wishing you health, happiness, and the riches of God's bounty during this season and always. It's just nice. It's just a lovely little set. Okay, so I'm just getting this cooled off. You guys ready for the magic? Ready for the magic? All right. You knew I would cost you money tonight. Okay, now, this is a non-Stampin' Up stainless steel little pot thing. It's actually for cocktail sauce for when we have shrimp, or melted butter for when we have crab legs, which is not very often, which is why it was handy. And in there, in the bottom, is just a tiny, tiny, eensy-weensy bit of bleach. Okay, so I will give you the standard safety warning. Safety warning number 1, don't spill this, because anywhere it touches is going to do its thing. It's straight up bleach, no dilution. And number 2, try to be in a ventilated area so that you don't have, well, you know, issues. Okay, ready? Then I take an old blender pen. So now you know what to do with your old blender pens. And I'm going to paint my pheasant with bleach. And anywhere that I paint my pheasant with bleach is going to get light. And you want to be a little careful. I'm going to put him in the tail here. And you don't have to get too persnickety, because that clear embossing is acting as an emboss resist. So it's protecting the cardstock behind it from the bleach. And you want to take a minute, just take a beat, folks, and take your time, because it will bleach even the places you didn't really want to. And it's kind of an iterative process. Hey, Eunice, nice to see you. It's kind of an iterative process because you want to give the bleach a little minute to see how much lightening you're getting, okay? And you can see I'm barely touching the bleach, okay? So anywhere that you want to lighten up, just touch it a little bit. I'm getting inside these cattails a little. And so I am essentially painting with bleach. And this is why you want to be sure that you've got cardstock that is colored all the way through, so that you don't get bright white, you get colors. And I'm going to paint my hen here. And you can actually see, I don't know that you can see it, but I can see as I paint it that that the cardstock gets wet where the bleach is, and then it does dry pretty quickly. And you want to just go easy, because some of these little design elements are pretty narrow, and you kind of want to stay inside the lines. This is not a time to color outside the lines, y'all. It just isn't. This is a time to take your time and get things colored up the way you want. Now, I'm pretty certain there are no dark cherry cobbler and light cherry cobbler pheasants, but this way, at least it doesn't look like I tried to color him and her like pheasants. I just straight up didn't do it. So nobody can say I screwed it up. They can just say, oh, what an interesting coloring technique that is. That's so interesting. It's just so interesting. All right, we're going to get let's see, what is he called? I think they're roosters. I think so. We'll get him some lightening up here. So this is what I did for the sample, is I did my coloring, and then I let it dry for a few minutes, and then I checked it to see whether it was doing what I wanted or whether I needed a little more coloring. And you just kind of keep doing that until you think, there they are. That's nice. And I'm going to get their little leggies, and their little talon doohahs right there. It's hard to see with the, hang on, I'm gonna have to stick my little noggin right in the way. I'm afeared, people, hang on, because I can't see. The shiny stuff is too shiny, I can't see it. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I'm just gonna let that set a second so that I can see what I've got. And while I'm doing roosters, hens, and chicks, I got it, yay! The girls are hens. Oh, yeah. Hi, Gladys. Thank you for joining. Okay, now let's do some matting right quick. We can get our, I don't need a new bottle. We can get our card started. So I'm just going to use some liquid glue. Come on, liquid glue. All right. You know what is 1 week from day after tomorrow? Do you guys know? Anybody know? I know Amy knows, so no fair answering. Karen knows too. 1 week from the day after tomorrow, Amy Kunders and I are taking a road trip. Woohoo! And Amy, just so you know, I did hit Publix today, and they did have Halloween candy, 2 bags, buy one, get one. So I have 4. So we are set for chocolate for the road trip. However, should you desire to get any extra, we'll have extra to share with everybody when we get there. Just saying. And it is going to be fun. And even though Amy is a party pooper, every party has a pooper, and Amy is it. I am going to be spending much of the day on Wednesday, which would be 1 week from 2 days after tomorrow. Wait, 2 days after tomorrow. Yes, that's correct. I'm going to be spending half of a day at Epcot Center. Yay. Okay, all right, so let's go back to our little hoo-ha here, and I will show you what we're going to do. So I have matted 2 pieces of DSP, and I'm going to mat this smaller piece onto the card front with liquid glue. Did I say matte? I did not mean that. I meant adhere. Of course I meant adhere. And I'm going to put it at a jaunty little angle, like so. Now, I also cut a couple of these little branches. Y'all, if you do not have the frosted bouquet framelits, I urge you to stop watching this video and go get it right now. Go order them right now, because this berries die is my favorite die ever. Possibly ever. I mean, like, really, there's a distinct possibility this is my favorite die ever. Ever. So what I did is I cut 2 of those little berry doohas from some copper foil. And I'm going to adherate the first one directly to the card front. Right about, oh, there looks good. There looks good. Give him a little smush. All right. And then this can set aside and wait for me. Wait for me and think about what you are going to do. And let's pull back our hen and our rooster and our bleach. Hey, I am a very bad influence. That is correct. I would have spent it with you because I like to stay up to 2 a.m. and you know how I feel. I know, Karen. I know. Amy's just a party pooper. I'm going to give this a little more because I can, and because I want to, and because these are my little pheasants. Little pheasants right here. Now I'm just kind of coloring around the, coloring is the wrong word. I'm painting around the shading marks that Stampin' Up! Gave us. I'm going to make these a little lighter. They didn't really come out white at all. And I want them to show up as cattails. I just discovered I was having a hard time talking while painting that little tiny thing. I needed to like hold my mouth just right, and I couldn't do it. Okay, there we go. Okay, again, gonna set him aside. Not for very long, because I think we're about there. Okay. Move the bleach, put the lid on. Now, before we joined, I did create my sentiment banner. This is another piece of the wood textures, and I just heat embossed that beautiful sentiment from Pleasant Pheasants in white. And so it is going to go on our card base. While this is doing its thing, why don't we add our faux stitches? And I've got my cherry cobbler Stampin' Right. Now I did have an idea, and I might try it on another one, but I think it would be kind of cool to take this and just do dot stitches along there with the bleach. It would be very, very subtle, even more subtle than the tone-on-tone faux stitches. But I'm not going to try that now because I don't want to screw this up on camera. Nobody wants to screw up on camera. So I'm just going to do my regular old faux stitches with the bullet end of my Cherry Cobbler Stampin' Right marker. So I've got tone on tone, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And if it gets kind of unkempt looking, well, you know, it's how I sew too, kind of unkempt. It's hand sewn, hand stitched, and I'm not Little House on the Prairie lady, so, you know, it's kind of, it would be serviceable. Like, the seam probably wouldn't come undone, but you wouldn't want to display it on your bed or anything like that. That's what I'm saying about my stitches. Yeah, my mom, she kind of despaired, I think, of teaching me to sew after she had me go to a sewing class that was supposed to be really easy. It was one of those like double knit things like they used to make t-shirts out of. And it was supposed to be really easy. And I thought it would be really easy. I mean, a t-shirt, how hard is that? A front, a back, some sleeves. Yeah. Well, I cut out 2 backs and I said, the heck with that. Apparently that is not my forte. I am not good at it. And I quit. Never to be seen again. Okay, now I'm going to find some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to pop this onto my card front. And don't all gasp in horror. Yes, I'm going to use a lot of dimensionals. These are weird looking. They're dimensionals from a paper pumpkin kit, so that's why they look different than our regular dimensionals, but they certainly do dimensionalize just fine. So please feel free to use them. Speaking of which, you've still got time to get signed up for the holiday kit. If you get in before the 10th of November, you'll get that November kit, and it is for the holidays. And the box is plaid, people. So I'm pretty sure that indicates that it's a plaid kit, which is awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. 27 dimensionals. By the time I get done, no, approximately 18. I like my dimensionals. I cannot lie. I like a lot of dimensionals. I cannot lie. Besides that, if I don't uncover a whole bunch of them, what will Finn have to find with his schnoozle? With his schnoozle. Okay. I think I've got them all undone. Oh, no, that one is still covered. You know, a dimensional is only as good as the stickiness of it. Okay. So now we're just going to kind of put this at another different jaunty angle like so. Easy and also peasy. And see, the hard part's already done. And there was no hard part. You gotta love that. A non-hard part, hard part. I like it a lot. Okay, so now I'm just gonna kind of dry fit my frame. And I deliberately made the frame kind of smallish. So you need to be sure it's where you want it to be, because I don't like a gap here. So I want it to be up against my card. I made it as big as I needed, as small as I could get it. How about that? So that it worked with the dimensions. So I also don't want it to be like this. I don't want it to be lined up with this angle. I want a different angle on it, okay? Like so. But I also don't want to cover up my rooster's face, because I worked so hard to color him, see? Okay, so now what I'm going to do, that's about where it is. My sister uses safety pins and Scotch tape. All right, I'm putting a mini Stampin' Dimensional. Oh, I'm sorry, it's going to be 19 dimensionals on here in this corner, because it's going to hang off. And then I'm going to use liquid glue on the rest of the frame. Now you could also, if you really enjoy doing faux stitches, you could take like your early espresso marker and make faux stitches around the frame. That would be kind of cool too. Also, don't forget, I mean, I've used cherry cobbler here, and I used that because it coordinates with the DSP, right? But you could use crushed curry or Cajun craze or any color, as long as it's the solid color all the way through. You could use any color for this. And I would also be urging you to look around for some other stamp sets that this would be fun to do, this little bleaching technique. All right, so I've got him adhered there, like that. Now we're going to put our sentiment on, like so. And I'm lining the sentiment up with the card base. Okay, so this has a lot of angles on it, and I personally kind of think that's what makes it look cute. Okay, so I'm going to put that like that, and again I'm lining the bottom up with the bottom of the card base, and if it isn't, just sit there and gasp to yourself. Okay, then I'm going to take my other little bouquet berry and I'm going to cut off one little bit, and I'm going to put him on there like so. I just love this. I love it so much. It is one of my favoriteest things. Okay, and let's put him on like this. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a galvanized button. Thank you, Linda. And I'm going to adhere it with a glue dot. Right there. A little bit of very vanilla solid baker's twine. Now, you could use the cotton twine from the Festive Farmhouse, but I like it a little thin. I like the little thinner bit. If you use this one, the one from Festive Farmhouse, I would recommend only using a single layer. This one on this card is a double length. Okay, so I've just taken 2 pieces the same length to tie my bow. But if you use the Festive Farmhouse, I would recommend only using 1 length, or I think it will overwhelm it. Okay, perfecto. And I'm going to take a glue dot and scrunch it up a little bit. See, scrunch, scrunch. And stick it right in the middle of my galvanized button. And then stick my bow right there in the middle. Give those a little trimolate. There we go. Okay, okay. And that, my folks, my friends, my peeps, is the card front. Yay! Look at that! Perfectly colored-ish, and no coloring required. And actually, you could still go back in and mess with it if you decided you wanted a little more. No problem. So let us make the inside. I'm going to put my little tub of bleach where I am a little less likely to knock it over. Maybe. Hopefully. I'm hoping that that'll be a little less likely. And then I'm going to take a very vanilla piece of cardstock, and I'm going to stamp the image again in crumb cake this time. And I'm going to do it stamped off once. So I'm going to ink up. And then I'm going to locate a piece of scrap of paper. Scrap of paper. And I'm going to stamp it off right in place. Do you like those jaunty angles? I know. Okay, so I'm just putting it in the same spot, and I'm going to give it a nice little push to stamp it off once. Make sure my cardstock is back up in the corner, and give it a nice little push. There we go. Very light, and that's exactly what I wanted. because I'm going to put the sentiment right over the top. Clean that off, acting as if I'm a tidy stamper when I think you all probably know I'm not. Yes, the birds are in fact embossed, and it does look really cool. It's a great technique. I like it. All right, so I'm going back with my acetate, and I'm going to pull out that cool inside stamp. You know what, Karen, that is, well, I mean, I don't actually, I'm going to just say straight up, I have no idea what meth crystals look like, but yes, my tub dried out too, and I thought, oh my goodness, I have ruined my $1.79 stainless steel cocktail sauce tub, but I hadn't. It simply wiped out. Okay, so again, line it up like you think you want it, and pick it up. I'm going to ink this in Mossy Meadow, and in that fact that is what I'm going to ink it as. And then we're going to stamp this to see if we're straight. And I actually believe I like that just exactly like that. So pick up your acetate, make sure your cardstock is up in the corner, if that's where you've lined it up. And why wouldn't you? Line it up in the corner. That corner is handy dandy. And then we're going to give this a good stamp. Just like that. Ah, there you go. See? Parfait. It's parfait. How many people are old enough to know who says parfait? Do 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 do. Okay, nobody answered? Nobody knows. While I have my Stamp-N-Lingers out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my envelope. And this image right here, just so you know, you really can't stamp it here like this if you just want it in the corner, because then all you're going to have is butts. I'm just telling you that straight up. I mean, if you want butts, that's fine. But if you wanted heads and stuff like that, then you probably want to do it on that other corner. I'm just saying. Alex Trebek, Jeopardy is the correct music, but the answer to the question, who always uses the term parfait? Who is Miss Piggy, Alec? Okay, here we go. Okay. Dum da dum 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 dum. All right, clean this off right quick, like a bunya. Quick like a bunya, quick like a bunya. Okay. You guys, the more I use my Stamp-N-Lingers, the more I love my Stamp-N-Lingers. There is just no doubt about it. When I first got it, I think I probably told you this, I was underwhelmed with it. Mostly because I resented not having my Stamp-A-Majig. But the Stamp-N-Lingers has become... The Stamp-N-Lingers has become one of my favorite things. In fact, it even made it into the suitcase to go to Colorado. That is how important it has become to me. And I even made sure I took both plates, which is amazing considering that I was really trying to keep the weight of my suitcase down. I can just tell you I barely made it. I had 2 suitcases and I am pretty certain I had 98 pounds of stuff. I think one was 49 pounds and the other one was 48 pounds, or it was very close. Okay, so I've just matted that on a Mossy Meadow mat, and then I'm going to use more liquid glue and put it in. You have 2 Stamp-N-Lingers? Isn't that Stamp-N-Lingers? Stamp-N-Lingers? Yeah, that's it. All right, I'm putting this into a very vanilla card base. You could use thick, very vanilla cardstock if you wanted, but there are enough layers on this that it's already got enough heft to it. to make using the straight very vanilla fine. Okay, there we go. And then you know what I'm putting the front on with, don't you, people? Yeah. Dimensionals. I loves me some dimensionals. How glad are you guys that I didn't go into singing, because I can't. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Now, I understand there's some kind of a big baseball thing going on right now. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Anyone? Anyone? Stampopotami. Thank you. That's it exactly. Yes, Paul. And yes, Jean, I actually did get clothes there. I did, however, take way too many clothes, but that's okay, because I was really afraid of being cold, and it turned out that the Stampin' Up! Jacket that I got on the cruise to Alaska worked perfectly. It was plenty for what I needed. Now, if I'd done a whole bunch of hiking up in the mountains, that might not have been so good, but getting to Denver and back every day to go to the doctor and doing the other things we had to do, it was plenty. It is a warm little booger. Okay, we're just popping this on the front. And folks, that is that for the card. We'll finish off our envelope with a little more of that beautimous plaid. I'm hoping I get a... oh, the World Series. Yeah, that's it. No, I knew that. I totally knew it was the World Series. But I don't actually know who's playing in it, other than the Boston Red Sox, because somebody told me they were watching the Boston Red Sox on there tonight. But I don't know who the other team is. I'm sorry. My grandfather would be so disappointed in me. Did I ever tell you guys my grandfather was a minor league pitcher? Yep, he was. He was a minor league pitcher. My handdaddy was a cool dude. He would pitch a doubleheader. So he was a border patrol agent also. And so I guess back then in the minor leagues, you were a minor league baseball player and you had to do something else if you wanted to eat or feed your family. So that's what he did. He was a border patrol agent. He delivered ice. That was back when ice boxes were literally boxes with ice in them. He told my husband a story about one lady he delivered to who was making gin in a tub. Bathtub gin, it's a thing. It's a real thing. He was an interesting guy. Yeah, so he would pitch a doubleheader, and then he was also the bus driver. So all the guys would get in the back of the bus and go to sleep, and he'd have to drive them back to, gosh, I think maybe Montana or wherever they were playing, wherever they were stationed at the time. So obviously I got a little bit of glue going there. I'm just going to get it off with my rubber eraser. Good enough. All right, folks, there we go. You do not remember the icebox, Karen. You do not. You are not that old. It's just not possible. Not possible. All right, there you go, people. So remember this. If you do want to color, but you don't want to color, so you want some no color coloring, bleach. Get your bleach out. Get you a little tub and go ahead and paint it. Paint it with bleach, baby. Who can find me some stamp sets and leave me a comment on my blog post tomorrow? Leave me a comment and tell me what other stamp sets you think might do well with this technique. And possibly I will make a card with that stamp set in the future, because I'm kind of itching to do this with another color and another stamp set. All right, you guys, I certainly do appreciate you spending the evening with me, and I am so glad you were patient and came back after a 2-week hiatus. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye-bye.